As a manager of a bar, it was notorious, a loyalist bar. UVF, UDA feud was going on. And of course, if I run the bar, they thought I was running UVF, but I wasn't. I was targeted for that. My mum was a Christian and she used to say to me, "Tommy, you need Jesus." And I says, "Mum, do you not think I have enough problems of my own? There's death threats out on me, and you want me to talk about Jesus?" All of a sudden, I hears his voice. I knew it was the voice of God. And here's the very words that he said to me. Tommy Latimer from East Belfast, 2 sisters and 3 brothers. Around when I was 3 years of age, my dad, he decided to abandon us and left my wee mum to look after us. Mum had a couple of jobs, worked in a pram factory in East Belfast. She had a spare time cleaning job in the shipyard to make ends meet in them days. Obviously, she was a hard wee worker. She brought us up well, but then I got a job. She wanted to put me in a trade. She put me in the bar game, looking after a bar and working as an apprentice. In them days, you had to serve your time as a barman. So eventually, I became the manager. In the late 60s, early 70s, at the time of the Troubles, my mum was a Christian, and she used to say to me one day, she says, "Tommy, you need Jesus." And I says, "Mum, do you not think I have enough problems of my own? There's death threats out on me, and you want me to talk about Jesus?"
Tommy, why was the death threat? What was going on with the death threats?
Right. Okay, as a manager of a bar, it was notorious, a loyalist bar. UVF, UDA feud was going on. And so I was obviously in a bar that was linked to certain paramilitaries like the UVF. And of course, if I run the bar, they thought I was running the UVF, but I wasn't. I was targeted for that. I remember an incident. There was a guy in front of the bar to shoot into the bar and to make a mess of the bar, and the people were in it. And he dropped on his knees and he asked God to forgive him. I didn't know at the time, but God stepped in, saved me from certain death. I knew that. As my mum used to keep talking to me, and I said, "Mum, I don't want to hear anything about Jesus." Then one day she came in, a Friday, and I remember it well, a Friday morning. She says to me, God told her, "Do not talk to Tommy about Jesus, but he left you a message." I said, "Oh, God speaks to you?" She says, "Yes, God speaks to me." She said, "He told me that his spirit will not always stride with you." And I says, "Oh, very good. So God speaks to you." And he left me a message, right? So I never took notice of it, to be honest. About 4 or 5 weeks later, after she gave me that message, I'm in the bar. It was a Friday morning, I remember it well. I was doing my boost, getting ready for the weekend. All of a sudden, I hears his voice. I knew it was the voice of God. And here's the very words that he said to me. "Tommy, my spirit will not always stray with you." And I shook. Now, I heard that voice before, but it was from my mum. But when God speaks to you, there's no doubt. You can't explain it. All you know, when it happens, you will hear it and you will know it's from God. I shook. I don't know anything else. I've been in a bar all my life since I left school. And the words came out of my mouth. How can I become a Christian and I'm a bar manager? It doesn't work. And I left it at, but I still shook. And a fear came over me. Then one night, a Saturday night, one of the girls came in, which I knew. She said to me, "Tommy, there's a job going in Scott's, QJ Scott's electrical firm. Would you be interested?" My first words were, "Yes, you get me that interview." Got the interview a week later, got the job, went to the owner and told him I was leaving. And he went berserk. He said, "No, you can't leave, Tommy. We'll increase your bonuses. We'll give you more weight." "No, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. I've already declared it, I'm leaving." And I knew that God had spoke to me. And I knew I had to get out of that bar. So I got the job. There were Christians in the factory. And they were witnessing to me and talking to me. And I said, to be honest, my wife's there, but I'm not really in the moment. I know I should, but I'm not too sure about it. To one day, but a lot of weeks later, a guy came in, young fella, and he says, "Tommy, I want to tell you some good news." I says, "What is it, son?" He says, "I give my heart to Jesus." And this wee lad was in the UVF, paramilitary group. And I said, "Oh, that's good news, son." He said, "I wouldn't have thought that you would have accepted me. I thought you would have mocked me." I says, "No, son, I respect you for that. That's a good decision you made." He says, "Seriously?" He says, "Would you take a track?" I said, "Yes." "Where is it?" "There's a wee track Very simple. It was a picture of a man behind bars, and you've seen the cell and the bars, and he's holding on to it and crying to get out. He couldn't get out. And then as I read the story, it says there's only one man can take you out of the prison you're in, and his name is Jesus. And for the first time, all of a sudden, things start to click. And then that was round about October, and I came home one afternoon, and my wife was crying. I said, "What's wrong with you?" She says, "Ronnie, they've shot him dead." Now, the significance of that was he took over from me when I left the bar. Months later, he was shot dead. That could have been you. And I thought that had an impact. I says, "Lord, I don't believe that's what's happening." So as time went on, it was coming up to Christmas. Christmas morning, early hours, about 1 o'clock in the morning, I got down on my knees and I asked Jesus into my heart. I says, "Lord, I don't know much about this. All I know, I need you. And I know that if I don't do this today, I'll never do it. Because you told me that your spirit will not always strive with me. And I thank God his spirit did strive with me. He never gave up on me." So the next day I get up and I says, "Right, I want to tell my wife." So I go down in the morning, I says, and I was tongue-tied. I couldn't tell her. Couldn't tell my daughter, wee Trace. And I'm saying, what's going on? So coming up to Boxing Day, still haven't tell anybody. And I went up to the local football match between the Glens and the Blues. There was a rat started that day and I got involved in it. Coming out after the match, I says, "I'm going to have to ask you to come into my heart." And I'm out, "Ran, what's going on, Lord? There's something not right here." But then as the days went on, for a whole fortnight I wouldn't tell nobody. Wee wife Margaret said to me, "Do you fancy going to church tonight?" She didn't know what was going on in my life. I says, "No, I'm not feeling too well." And I wasn't feeling too well that night. And as they left the house, the sickness left me. And I said, "You know something, Lord, I'm going to get up and go to that church." They were on up. I got ready to get changed. Went up to the Presbyterian church. And my wife and my daughter, they looking at me and they said, "What are you doing here?" And they were surprised. "Thought you weren't well." I said, "That's a long story." So the cat quiet sat down there. And there was a police inspector on, giving his testimony for a fortnight. He never told anybody that he belonged to Jesus. A fortnight. And I'm going, this guy's talking about it. How does he know this? And I'm sitting upstairs, I'm listening, riveted to the seat. And this guy's talking about, and one day somebody asked him to go to a wee barn house. And he says, I'm sitting listening to this preacher. And the preacher quoted Matthew 10:32 and 33. He says, if you're ashamed of Jesus, he'll be ashamed of you to his Father. But see, if you confess that you belong to Jesus, to the world, I will confess you to my Father. And right away, Spirit of God just struck me. And I knew that's what was wrong with me. I never told anybody. And I turned around to my wife and Margaret and Tracy, and I said to her, I'm saved. Now in a Presbyterian church, and God bless them, quiet, she shouts, hallelujah. And I'm going, shh, shh, shh. For the first time I confessed that Jesus Christ was Lord of my life. When we got down to the house, she says, I'm going round to see my wee friend here. Sitting back to 1:30 in the morning. I says, where were you? She says, we're around telling everybody you got saved. She says, now when you go into work, you tell them all what happened. And I says, no, they'll see the difference. She says, no, remember, if you believe in Jesus, you'll not be ashamed. And I said, I know. So I never said, and I walked in, 10 o'clock, tea break, this guy walks over to me. I never told anybody. And he said to me, congratulations, brother. I heard you got saved last night. I says, how did you know? He says, God works mysterious ways. And I'm going, wow. Nothing said till about 3 o'clock that afternoon, walking through the repair shops in the factory at Scott's. And there was a crowd, about probably 15 guys. And they're all congregating around the machines. So when you see a crowd like that, you know there's going to be a strike. There's going to be a walkout, or there's a union meeting. And I walked up. I said, what's going on, guys? We're just talking about you. I said, me, what did I do? He says, I believe you're a Christian. I says, yes. He says, you know it's impossible. There's no way you can get saved. I said, listen, hold on a minute. All I know is I get down on my knees and ask Jesus in my heart because I know he's my saviour. Cheerio, boys. I walked away. That's all I said. Never went in any big theological debate because I didn't know anything about it. All I knew is Jesus loved me. Now, 48 years on, I'm still praising God. I got into the ministry and so on. A lot of stuff had happened. But listen, one thing I've learned, one thing I know for sure, my father left me and abandoned me and my brothers and sisters and my wee mum. But I've got a father now, said he'd never leave me or forsake me. And I love Jesus the day and hour I met him till the day, until he comes, and what a day that'll be when my Jesus I shall see.